when you surround yourself with the right people,
Mm,
you actually recognize that shit, no, I've actually got a lot to learn here,
mm,
and you feed off everyone.
yeah.
So yeah, you definitely need to get some mentoring and coaching. Uh, those two things, yeah, they'll put you in the right stead.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Build Insight podcast. Real people, real insights. Step into the world of innovative construction, one conversation at a time. Today's guest is Luke Said from Impact Build, delivering high-quality renovations, extensions and custom builds across the Macedon Ranges and regional Victoria. Luke and his team shape each build around how people want to live now and into the future.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Build Insight podcast. I've got pretty much one of my neighbours here with me today.
That's it, mate. Yep.
A better Luke. We got Luke Said.
We'll go with that.
Impact Build.
Yep.
But Lukey, thanks for coming in for a chat, mate. We're in a bit of a different setting on one of my building sites at the moment.
Mate, it's bloody impressive. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm rapt to be here.
Nah, it's large enough, mate. I think I've been telling everyone we're in the sort of church cathedral in this room.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we've got Mick on the sound over here, so hopefully we'll nail it. But mate, we'll dive into your journey. I feel like you're been all in. We've been in Future Builder together for 12 months or so now. I think our daughters have just started high school together as well. So
Yep.
yeah, we're running down the same lane, mate. I reckon 10, 20 years ago, builders wouldn't be sitting here in the same suburbs having a chat, open chats and sharing things like we do. But let's wind it back, mate. Where did your journey start in the building industry?
Yeah, so I got into it just over 18 years ago now. When I started, I think I was actually going to start as a plumber. So I was really looking for a plumbing apprenticeship, and I'm rapt that I didn't end up going down that path. But nothing against plumbers, of course. But I was lucky enough, I come by meeting a bloke down our local footy club at Kyneton, and he introduced himself, and sort of I had a close mate was doing an apprenticeship with him, and he ended up giving me the opportunity to come on as an apprentice carpenter. Am I interested in the first place? I didn't even know. I just jumped at it and said, "Yep, I'll do it. I'll take the job." And at the time, I actually had no I had no relationship to actually wanting to do that.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a risk at the start, but yeah, I'm glad I did. And when I started, mate, I was as green as it gets. Like honestly, I was a hard worker, but I reckon I was probably pretty useless at the time. And it took me a fair while to like really get accustomed to what being a carpenter was actually about. But I was able to sort of just get through my first sort of 6 months just by being a really hard worker and just trying to listen to those around me as much as I could. So at the time, I was the apprentice to sort of the head contractor to that builder. That builder was an absolute gun. He was great. And then his head contractor, he was probably the most amazing tradesman I've ever worked with.
So you got to learn the skills, but also the work ethic.
Yeah.
Which I think by the sounds of it, when you're out there, I think country footy clubs, the centre hub too. I know we've got guys that are working for us that we've gotten through contacts at local footy clubs. So they are powerful in our local economies. Yeah. But so who you've sort of started with sort of set you on the right path with the skill set, setting you up with the right knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. Like if it wasn't for those two, so for the builder and his main carpenter, like there's no, it could have went anywhere if I'd have started out with a company who didn't really push us every day. So we were pushed flat out every day, and everything had to be done spot on. In saying that, it was a completely different style of building back then. Like, as you know, a lot has changed in that time. As simple as talking about whacking on some just some foil wrap and all the rest of it, all the boring stuff. But at the time, I just took it on, and eventually had no choice, but I just had to get up to speed, or I wasn't going to be able to keep up.
Yeah. And it came, do you reckon most of that drive came within yourself to keep taking that next step or?
Yeah. So as I said before, like I had no intention to become a carpenter. And even before that, when I was going to become a plumber or look into doing plumbing, like even that was just a bit off the cuff. Like I had a couple of mates doing it. Maybe I'll just hop into that. That'll do. I sort of, for a long time was, yep, I'm going to go to uni. I actually got accepted to go into uni. I'm not that smart, but
there for a second. What were you thinking of doing at uni?
I was actually going to do a form of business management.
Yeah.
So yeah, something I did get into that, and then on the other token, I also wanted to do like some sort of PE, something a bit health and fitness related. But yeah, when I first sort of got into like actually whether I had to make the decision to go to uni or, actually make the jump and go, no, I'm not going to do that. I had the family members that had supported me massively and get me to that point, sort of say, are you sure about this? Are you sure? Like you've got the opportunity here in front of you.
Mm.
Are you sure you just want to leave it behind and just go do something completely off track? And that caused a little bit of friction, but I think the reason why it did cause a bit of friction was the people who I was getting that feedback from, they were my biggest mentors. My brother in particular, like, even when I was a kid through to being a teenager and even as, as recently in, my time as a businessman, the amount of advice and feedback I've got of him over the years, and he's just a wealth of knowledge in basically in the building game as well. So he's a head of a company that's in the building game as well, as a supplier, and he sort of knows how it all works. The knowledge I've been able to gain off him over the years, like if I hadn't have had many of those hard conversations, had him steer me in the right direction, I don't think I would have pushed myself so hard and been so driven to get to that point. I've never been one to, if there's, let's say there's something I know I should be replying to, or there's something that I know is going to be important to put on the back burner in terms of, I don't know, it could be, unfortunately, something to do with family or sport, whatever. And that's never good to put those things off. But yeah, I sort of knew that there was times where I'd have to make some hard decisions, not all the time, but just enough to, I knew what it was going to take to have that difference to actually get somewhere and get where I wanted to be.
For over 130 years, Bowen's has been the builder's choice, providing a service that provides timber, hardware and innovative building products.
And now we're helping you further with this wonderful partnership.
We're proud to announce Bowen's as our new premier sponsor, bringing you more of the insights that you love. Build insight together with Bowen's.
Real people,
real insights. So, Luke, you touched on before you were thinking of doing business management. And here you are, what, mate, 15 odd years later.
Yeah.
You're pretty much doing business management.
Yeah.
Running a building company.
I know.
I like what you said there. You're a businessman. I think there's a lot of builders fall in the trap, which is thinking I'm just a builder.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, before we do anything like we're in the house right now, you've got to run a business.
You have to, mate. And I think if you're not recognizing that you're actually in a business and it's not just about swinging a hammer or what's happening on site day in, day out, you're probably going to get left behind pretty quick. And you really need to come accustomed to that as early as possible. But so ultimately, I was looking at doing business management, of course, at uni. But all the stuff that you learn at school towards that, to like, as you know, it's not even relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, not in the building game anyway.
Nah. Yeah, and there's so much at school there, and I could go on another topic here about this, but there's so much we do learn at school that isn't really as relevant to what you need to learn in real life. You know, I've found been in the industry for 20 years and in business now for I think 15, and I look back and there was definitely areas that I was really keen on in school that coincide with where I sit now. Like I was a little bit the same. I was in VC and wanted to be a vet. I was contemplating, uni as well. And got to the point where I'm like, nah, I don't enjoy physics and whatever with it. Chemistry, I think it was, I really hated. And I had builders that were uncles in the industry that were builders. So I was like, oh, I've always really admired what they do and sparked my interest to give it a crack. But all in all, I think looking back at school, I was really motivated on learning things that inspired me towards business. So, I think I took that turn to head towards becoming a builder pretty young because I really like the business aspect of it just as much as building houses. But so go back to you, mate. You're the guest, not me. With the carpentry side of things, so you kicked off Impact as more of a carpentry base.
Yeah, so I started. So when I finished my apprenticeship, I had a really good run with the employers I had. So I had an awesome mix of the style of work we did. We did all forms of domestic building, semi-commercial, also higher end commercial. So every time we sort of jumped from line of work to line of work, I felt as if every time I worked with a new group, I was able to sort of almost implement something for them in a way. And that's not saying I was any sort of expert or anything at the time. It was just when you're doing different forms of carpentry and you're working on different building sites, it might even be something as simple as a different tool that is generally used only on a commercial side, or a different way to install a product that is done on a residential build. So working with a massive range of carpenters, but when I finished my time, I knew that everyone I'd worked for, it was great and I appreciated it massively, but it didn't suit me sort of working for someone. Even just my learning style. So when I was an apprentice, even that didn't overly suit me. As much as I learnt for everyone I worked with, I just needed to think through each situation myself and be able to just have my own way to think through a situation and work something out. Like even now, I say to our team, you can sort of sense when something's not quite working out on site, or there's a little bit of frustration or whatever. And I'd say, boys, let's just calm down. Let's just think outside of the box here for a little bit, because what you're doing, it's not working. So let's just slow down a bit. Let's think through it. You might be able to look at something for half an hour and basically get nowhere. But in that half an hour, you've come up with a solution that is going to speed up that process, and get a better result.
I think it's a great valid point you make there. I'm a massive believer, and I found my learning style very similar. You can be shown how to do things all the time, but I think apprentices really start coming on. Obviously, there's that moment where you need that penny to sort of drop so that they can be left to their own devices a little bit more. However, they also need to be able to maybe fail a few times at things.
Yeah, of course.
What have I done here that didn't work, and how can I get better at it? And then that gets taken up a notch, and what we expect out of them after a 4-year apprenticeship is that
Yeah.
you let them go and
Yeah.
they can build anything. But the reality
Yeah,
is
it's not.
custom building doesn't
Yeah.
stop learning. I don't think there's any project we're sitting in right now. There's a lot of learning curves with
Yeah.
some of the things that went into this home.
Yeah.
But you never stop learning, and it's a matter of the individual to take that.
Yeah.
And we're all heading into more of this high performance building space.
Yep.
And then I see it a lot. We get asked a lot of questions. How did you do this? How did you do that? Why did you do this?
Yep.
And the reality is sometimes we don't have all those answers.
Yep.
We've gone through and done trial and error on certain products and systems and stuff.
Yep.
So we never stop learning. And I feel like the guys and girls who are in the industry, in the building scene now, who are willing to put it out there, fail and learn, are the ones really getting ahead from a business sense, a quality of building, and the health of a home building, which is really important. So, but mate, as I said at the start of this, so you're a local Macedon Ranges co-builder yourself.
Yep.
You've been around the area for a long time, mate. Played sports in footy in the middle of winter on these.
Yeah.
Lived in houses around the area. What are you seeing in our cold climate here from a change and within yourself too, to say, right, this is what I've known, but this is now what I know, and this is what we need to do at Impact. To take our business to the next level.
Yeah. First thing that comes to mind is when I started my apprenticeship. Remember the first job we were on, we were weatherboarding. And I remember we're weatherboarding, and we're cutting weatherboards up to windows and, up to weatherboard stops. And he was a really good builder, like awesome builder that we worked for. But then it was normal just to, you just slam your weatherboard up against the window. You've just got your foil wrap just up to the window. Nothing's taped. It's just Stanley knifed around. And you do sort of think at that time when you haven't been doing it, like, oh, is it actually this simple? We're just putting it straight on. But then when you do start to realise that there is better ways of doing it, and, you sort of feed off others and learn what they're doing and see what they're doing. It's not about being any sort of copycat of what everyone else is doing. It's just about recognising, no, that is the better way to build.
We are absolutely thrilled to announce that Circus Studio are coming on board as a major sponsor and supporter of Build Insight. Circus Studio is Australia's leading interior design centre. If you're an architect, building designer, interior designer, builder, or just looking to build your dream home, you need to make a time and come in and check out the space here in Port Melbourne. This space holds every element that you'll possibly need to design your dream home.
Yeah, I find it exciting, mate, when I see yourself and several other builders in our space in this area. It's not a matter of that there's only one job on the go. Like everybody has got a full book. But I find it really exciting. And I'll give you an example right now. There's a house just around the corner from here that we were initially engaged on, and they were pretty keen on the way we're building and so forth. And I couldn't see them getting to the budget they had to work with, and we were pretty honest with it. They went away, came back and said, right, we think we can work with it now. And I hadn't heard from them, and then followed up and got a response back, say, oh, we found someone who's like going to help us out of it and do some stuff. I'm watching this house go up at the moment, and it's just, you can just tell like there's the Anticon that's slapped on with no pre-thought. There's no doubt just some of the cheap local hardware wraps that are going to go on without too much thought. So I actually find it exciting and hope we get to the point where more of the industry actually sits here all like-minded, all building to a better standard. Because then you're not trying to compete against someone who's quoting for way less of a durability of a home, let alone the actual quality of it. So it's huge, and I find that exciting more than anything.
Oh, and like it's awesome that everyone everyone does want to now sort of level up and, do the absolute best quality, best performing build they can. And that's great, but it's actually scary to think the difference there actually can be in price for a build if you do the absolute bare minimum. And ultimately, it's if you're not sort of dealing with the right client, it's pretty easy for a client to see that the much cheaper option as the better value option. It's just not.
No.
Like this build that we're in here, like it's amazing what yous have done. It's awesome. And on this scale of project, if this got in the hands of the wrong builder, the quality could be nowhere near what it is now. The performance could be absolutely nowhere near. The products that are used wouldn't even be similar.
Yeah.
And what would the overall experience be?
Yeah, and well, it's funny you say that because this particular build, our clients are overseas and they've lived in Asia for 12 years working and raising a family, and they're moving back to Australia, and they didn't really know anything about why we have 140 mil walls, why we have triple glazed timber algae clad windows, why we use Pro Climber, why we're putting in decentralized HRVs and so on. So they actually intelligent to sit down and work out what's the pros and cons of Backman builders costing more, but overall performance and what they're getting out of it. And they got excited to the fact that doing the exploring of information, I remember sending them the specifications for Pro Climber with the Xanza wrap and the Mento wrap. And, I got back these excited questions just to be like, that were intelligent questions that were like, I didn't realize this is what people are actually doing now with homes.
Yeah.
So I feel like the builders as well, like it's our responsibility to, educate our clients. But then from there, like they're not necessarily going to take that, I'm getting a better product and paying a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm finding now, mate. I don't know about yourself, but I'm finding that there's a bit of a gap between people that want to actually spend on the quality and proper quality compared to like the quality of maybe just the finishes that we're seeing.
It's a huge gap. But I must admit, like we have actually had a few calls in the last 12 months in particular about clients who they'll actually mention a particular product. And if they weren't interested to go down that path, in particular the Pro Climber gear, like they must know that there is more value in using a high spec product and actually getting the benefit out of it in the long term.
Yeah, definitely. And you've upskilled your team as well, because I know you've gone in and done education and training days, which is really exciting.
Yep. All the boys, like I've done it with a couple of groups now, and in particular the guys who have just done it recently, they were up and about to do it. Like they were actually doing research after research before they'd even done it. So I started to introduce it in small amounts on site, and they started to get a bit of knowledge behind it, and then we would actually go and do the Pro Climber session in Melbourne and at Performance Membranes, and they get a lot out of that, and they actually they get a bit excited when they get to that stage of the build. Like even Hayden, who is a leading hand project manager for us, like he's got his bucket all set up and he's all organised for it every time we're up to the wrap stage or any sort of taping, or we're getting closer to that stage, and he's thinking about, all right, if we've got box gutters, how are we going to have mesh under our gutters? Are we going to how are we going to make this cavity work? How are we going to use this cavity closer? And I just think 6 months ago, he wouldn't have even been able to think of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I found the same, like the team genuinely get the excitement around maybe coming out of a frame frames like this where you've spent months like really perfecting the structure, and then you get to the point where you're wrapping it up and taping it. It's pretty exciting. But
All right, guys, that's a wrap for part 1 with Luke Said from Impact Build. Tune in next week for part 2. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you want to find out more about Build Insight, head over to the website buildinsite.com.au. Over on the website, you'll find links to previous podcast episodes as well as our YouTube channel, Instagram and Facebook. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.
Well, that's a wrap for another week's episode of the Build Insight podcast. Before we leave, just want to give a huge shout out to all of our sponsors for their ongoing support. Without their help, Build Insight wouldn't be what it is today.
Let's cue the disclaimer. I need to let you know that myself and the Build Insight team are in no way, shape or form qualified to give you personal or specific business advice. We strongly encourage you seek out the use of professionals for products or when you are making personal or business decisions. Everything discussed during the Build Insight podcast is our own and the guest opinion and personal experience and is of a general nature only. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.